All right, everybody, welcome back to the What Worked For Me podcast. Today we have Clarissa, who has successfully lost about 70 pounds, which is pretty great. If you want to find any of her links, she is a small business owner. It's always good to support those. You'll be able to find them down below. She does t-shirts and stuff like that. So, Clarissa, before this, we talked about how you got all the way up to 210 pounds. That was your biggest, and we'll get to that
Correct.
part of the story eventually. But how did you start out as a bigger person? Did you gain weight later in life? What was kind of your weight journey getting up to your biggest weight?
So I feel like I always use the term athletic build. So I was never a super skinny girl ever. But I never felt like I was overweight at any point until later in my adulthood. I might have been, after having children, my body then understood how to hold on to fat. And so I feel like, but even when I look back, like again, I always use the term athletic build because I played sports and whatnot. And so I've never been a small person. I'm currently probably the smallest I've ever been in my life, other than, pre-puberty.
Okay. So it sounds like you kind of gained it later in your life then. You said you
Correct.
got up to like 210 pounds. Was there a moment in your life where you knew like, okay, I have to change? What happened that caused the start of this whole journey?
Yeah, it was pictures at my brother's wedding. So we had actually I have three brothers, and my youngest brother had passed away from cancer in the beginning of 2022. And I hadn't realized that grief was affecting me through eating. And so when the older brother, of the three, was getting married at the end of that year, and it was at his wedding that I saw the pictures of me in the bridesmaid's dress, and I was like, oh my gosh, I look like a blue whale because it was a blue velvet dress. And that's when I'm like, wow, like how did I mean I guess, I try to give myself grace that I was in grief. But I was just like, how did I get this big? And so yeah, 210 was like not a number I've shared with many people. So if you're watching this for and you have followed my journey, I hadn't told people how big I would gotten, but yeah, 210 was when I saw that on the scale, I was like, okay, this is unacceptable. I need to do something.
Okay. And so what was your first step? What was the first thing you tried to start getting?
Um, I would say I started to be more conscious about eating. And so I worked from home and I sat at my desk. So I made sure and I removed all the food from around my desk because I think that was part of it was when I was working, I was just eating. And so the first step was just making small steps. I didn't even like commit to like a diet or a plan or anything. It was, okay, I need to get rid of everything that's caused me to be this big. And so it was mostly buying, healthier choices because I have four kids and I always have lots of munchy stuff that's not the healthiest, but it's fast. So when they're going to dance or football or whatnot, I can just grab it and go. And so I think that was the first step was just trying to make healthier choices. But I was so far gone big that I knew that I needed to make more conscious. Like I had to start doing more than just eating a little healthier.
Right. So you start taking control of your food environment. You kind of clear out the snacks. Did you start losing weight with just those small changes? Did you see anything at
Um,
the beginning?
Yeah, I feel like because the official number I started with when I did do like a program per se was 198. So I lost about 10 to 12 pounds in that couple of months of making healthier choices. But when the scale still said 198, I was like, okay, I gotta commit a little harder than just not eating snackies.
Yeah. So what was the next step you went for? Once you said, okay, I'm at 198, I want to commit to this harder. What was your plan that you committed to?
I did keto for 6 months, and so I guess it's termed dirty keto because it wasn't fully like clean, keto, but I had tried like the Atkins, which is keto, like in the past, and after having one of my kids, and so I knew my body responded to keto if I would commit to it, and so that's what I did at the beginning. It was literally just the carb focused keto diet of eating like, and I even like switched to like diet sodas because I'm married to someone that works for in the drink industry. So I have soda very accessible. And I
Free
used to say like
soda.
the
That's
only,
a
yeah,
plus.
not free, but I always get like coupons and whatnot, or I know where the sales are at. But I'm addicted to Dr. Pepper, and I used to say the only people allowed to drink diet Dr. Pepper were diabetics. Everybody else, either you drink it or you don't. But then I learned like, okay, Dr. Pepper Zero is okay. Because in my keto phase, you're allowed to have diet drinks. And so, but yeah, I did keto for 6 months, and that was really mentally hard because keto is not easy to do. Because if you fall off the wagon, it takes like a week to get back into the ketosis sometimes. And so it's
Yeah.
very discouraging. But was like, I'm 198 still. I'm on that teeter-totter back up over the 200. Like I gotta mentally commit and do it. And so I did keto for 6 months and I lost about 35 pounds doing that.
Awesome. And what did your so just have pretty much no carbohydrates, right? That was kind of what you were doing.
Yep,
So,
I was like the meat and cheeses, like yeah, it was hard. No bread, and I freaking love bread. And so that
right?
was
So when you were starting out keto, because I know sometimes people they kind of talk about like the keto flu or kind of that first couple
mhm.
days. Was did you experience any of those negative side effects?
So I didn't because I follow, so I'm a very big, internet warrior. I go find stuff. And so I read that if you did an egg fast, which is literally just eating egg and cheese for like 3 to 5 days, starting keto, that you would bypass the flu thing. And so I did that. And so I was super sick of eggs by the end of that first week, but I did the egg fast and I don't remember ever having like the headaches, the flu, the sickness. I was just sick of eggs by the end of that. But then I was really happy when I could have like bacon and stuff.
Okay. So, and this is something that's good to bring up. When you're on a like a really restricted diet like that, what did you do? I think sometimes people want to eat something else, right? So how were you able to stick to it and not, reach for something that was had some carbs in it?
There's a lot of stuff on the internet. And so I had like Pinterest boards of if you're craving this, you should try this when doing keto. And so I'd gone through and just looked for like, and I found tons of keto friendly snackies. And so I was able to put something in my mouth that kind of convinced me it wasn't bread, but I'm like, oh, if you make this chaffle or whatever, which is like a cheese waffle, it kind of gives you that texture. And I was even like desperate enough a few times I did buy the keto bread like at Walmart and it didn't taste good to me, but it got me like through some of those cravings, or it got me past that craving to be like, nope, I did not want that bad enough. It tasted like dirt.
Tasted like sadness and regret,
It
just
was so bad.
none
There, but I'm like, but if you, I, that's just my philosophy always has been like, I know that I need to eat something, and so I figure out what will keep me in the diet or keep me in ketosis would that wouldn't knock me out of it. That'll get me through that mental, because it's not my body needing it; it was my mental needing it. That okay, you need a snacky or you're missing bread, so eat something that tastes like bread.
Yeah. And so you lose about 30 pounds on that in 6 months, 35 pounds.
Mhm. Yep.
How did that feel? Did you start feeling a lot better instantly? Did it take a little while? What was your
Oh
experience?
yeah, I felt great about myself. Like my goal was so that I was 39 that year. I turned 40 the next year, and my goal was I want to see the 140s before I turn 40. And so it was getting me closer to that goal, which was a lot of weight to lose because I was up near the 200s in 2 years to lose 60 pounds. Sometimes, if you're not super committed, that's not going to happen. But it got me closer to my goal, but I got mentally tired of fighting myself of wanting bread and wanting pasta and wanting stuff. And I felt like I plateaued. And so I felt good, but at the same time, I was starting to get discouraged because I feel like I tapped out I've always said my body responds well to keto, but I pushed it for so long that I felt like I was tapping out, like I was plateauing.
So psychologically, it was kind of the thing that was the last straw for you with keto that you just had to stop. It worked
I
really
was
well
so
for
done.
weight loss. You probably felt good, but then you're like, I just can't live
Yeah.
off of
And so I
cheese.
wanted to try something different after that because I was like, I still wanted to hit that, see the 140s. Like it had to be 149.9, and I would have counted it as I saw the 140s before I turned 40.
Yeah.
And I just, and that was just for my personal story was like, I was mentally tired of being committed to that. Like we got invited to the suites at a jazz game, and I'm like, I couldn't eat all the fun stuff because I was committed to my keto journey and I was committed to myself, but I felt like I was missing out on things and I've never been invited to one of those and I haven't been invited to one since, but I got to see like my husband enjoy all the ice cream and all the treats and stuff. Like you get a lot of food at that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things with any type of really restrictive diet. If you go really high carb or really low carb, doesn't matter what it is, it eliminates a lot of your food options. So
Yeah, you start focusing on the restrictions versus even the results because I don't know, it's psychological. You just like, I miss this. I miss even the keto ice creams. Those are not as good as they sell them to be. It got me through a few times, but they do not taste like good real ice cream. I miss
no,
my Haagen-Dazs.
no. So for you, because I think this is a really important principle, is sometimes the cure becomes dangerous if you take it too far. For
Yeah.
you, how did you start to recognize like, okay, this diet and this lifestyle isn't sustainable and move away from it?
I think I always knew I wasn't going to stick with it as a lifestyle. I was using it as a means to an end. But, and I was proud of arguing. I think in the past I'd only ever lasted a couple of months of keto and then I gave up on it. And so I was super proud that I made it to the 6 months. But I think it was mostly just the emotional wearing down of like, I still felt like I was missing foods. And if the scale wasn't moving anymore, which it wasn't at that time, like I had plateaued, um, that it wasn't worth it anymore. And so I had to recognize like, okay, I need to find something else to do because I still had a goal, but this tool wasn't working anymore for me.
Okay.
Does that answer it?
Yeah,
Was
no,
that
that's
how?
great. That's actually
Okay.
perfect.
Okay,
So
cool.
just the tool stopped working and it wasn't worth it anymore. So
Yeah.
did you slowly start reintroducing carbohydrates to your diet? What did that, the big smile? You're like, yes,
No, I
not
was just
so
like, screw
slowly.
this. Had freaking bread. Like, no, I tried to make so in between because my next step was I tried some glutides, but in between that I did try a little bit of intermittent fasting. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna stop being so strict here, I don't want to like gain it all back. But I was still in my researching of what the shots that people were doing was because I worked with some chiropractors and I knew they offered it in their offices. And so I did the intermittent fasting and it kind of kept me there. But again, I was still plateaued. And so I wasn't going down, but I wasn't going up. So I was satisfied with that for maybe like a month, I think I did. And then I was like, okay, I'm trying these shots because I'd seen a bunch of other people lose weights with the shots. So I'm like, I'm trying that now.
And so you were plateaued around like what 160-ish is about.
I was about no, because I had been like fluctuating, so I was about 170. I think I put on my notes that I was in the 170 to 175 range, so I wasn't even down to the 160 yet because um, the 210 was the original, so I'd lost 35 pounds total. Like I was in the 170s, I believe.
Okay, and so you decided to go with semaglutide. What was your experience with the GLP-1 drug?
So the first one I did, I found out later that I wasn't doing it fully correctly. I was apparently microdosing, wasn't taking the full like you were supposed to take a week. And so I had zero results with it. I didn't get sick, but I didn't lose weight. And so
Just
I was
did
like, well,
nothing.
this one's a bust. And I had bought like it was like a 3 month vial that lasted almost 6 months because again, I was apparently didn't know how to read the needles, even though I used to be an EMT forever ago. Like I thought I was, and so I was microdosing. And so maybe if I'd given it a real shot, it might have worked. But in my experience, it did not work the way I was giving it to myself. And so that's when I switched to the tirzepatide.
Okay, and so then you end up switching to tirzepatide. What was your
And
experience with tirzepatide?
my body responded well to that one. And I don't know again if it was the mental or whatnot, because I knew the research that I knew it was targeting two different hormones, all that jazz. In 6 months, I lost about 25, 30 pounds of doing their shots. And I felt like the mental clarity, I wasn't snacking, I was able to go like, I'd have to remind myself to eat. Like my body responded really well to that one.
Just kind of took the food noise out. Did you have any
Yep.
negative side effects with it?
No, I didn't. So I didn't have any stomach aches. I didn't have I was trying to remember what the other side effects people have posted about like my body responded well. I didn't have any like injection. Again, maybe because I know how to give shots because I used to be an EMT a long time ago, but like I never had injection reaction. Um the only side effect was I wasn't hungry all the time and I felt like I had more, which was the counterproductive because I wasn't eating as much, but I felt like I had more energy, but I think it was just because I had more clarity, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
just not weighed down by kind of that stress of having to hold your
Yeah.
appetite the
I'd
entire.
have to set reminders to be like, oh, you're about to go pick up kids because my afternoons are crazy from picking up kids and dropping them off at dance and football and everything. I'm like, I better eat something. And I would go and make sure and have like a salad with, protein in it because when you're on the GLP ones, you're supposed to eat more protein than I did. So maybe I would have done better if I would have followed it like to the T, but
Yeah,
it made me not hungry. And so it was good.
I know. I know they work really, really well as like appetite suppressants, and it seems like that goes really well. Did you? I know one of the concerns with them is lean mass. That's why they have you eat more protein. Did you track your body fat percentage during that time, or
Not like officially. I mean, like I was able to see like I'm down to a size 8 in pants.
okay,
Like
yeah,
I did it the non-scale victory way.
yeah,
Because I never like had paid for. I mean, I've got a scale that supposedly can tell me your body fat percentage, but I've always felt like that's bunk because I'm like, you don't know what my bones weigh and whatnot. Like I feel like
yeah,
that's BS.
yeah. They're
And
not.
so I had never gone to my providers that I had gotten my shots from were out of state. So I never had to do an in-person one. So I never got those measurements. It was just the weight numbers what we started with. But I know like I don't personally feel like I lost lean mass or anything because I was also working out. Like my husband when we were dating and through our marriage, has acquired different pieces of equipment. And so our garage, our third car garage, is essentially a gym. And so
Great.
that was part of my working out. Like I made sure I still worked out while losing weight. Like
Yeah,
that
and
was
let's
part of the plan.
let's kind of talk about exercise during the entire time. So starting back at the very beginning, did when you were 210, did you start exercising or is it oh
Yeah, so
that's
there's exercise has always been a part of it. Not as serious. There's when I was bigger, I definitely was more tired faster. And so like it was mentally hard because once upon a time, like I had done a weight loss like competition after I had my last and I got down to like 150s. And then I've gained the weight back since then. And like when I did it during her time, I was able to do like P90X and I could do that video. And then when I was at 210, I couldn't even make it halfway through the video. And so that was kind of discouraging. So I was just doing little exercisey stuff like, oh, I'd go out and just do a little bit of weights, whatever was out there. I wasn't doing any like program videos or anything because it was discouraging because I couldn't do it like I used to be able to do it.
that makes sense. When you it sounds like you had gone through a period of weight loss and regain, which is
Mhm.
super common. Most people who lose weight will actually regain it. How did you handle that psychologically?
Probably not as well as I could. It was depressing. And so it would weigh me down to the point of like I would be unmotivated to do anything about it. And because I known how much I'd lost that first time, and then I'm all the way back up here into I mean, to go because like I said, I was down. I think when I'd done that competition with the company I was with, um, I would place like third place at 150 something pounds. And so to be like, I'm 210 now when I was 150, I kept trying to remind myself to give myself grace. Like had a loss in our family. That's how, but I was also like, there's no excuse. You have a gym in the garage. So I was berating myself probably more than I should have, but that's kind of human is that we do. We're very
Yeah.
self-critical. And so it was it weighed me down a lot. I don't know, you're embarrassed about that you let yourself get that far. And there's a lot of mental factors.
So I'm sure you had to fix that in the process of losing weight. How did you go about?
I'm still working on it. I still
Yeah,
am very, the body dysmorphia is real. Like I've come really far and I'm still guilty of saying like, oh man, I want to lose 20 more pounds still. Like I'll still say things like that or I'll make jokes about it, but they're jokes that I know still have deeper core than they should. And like my family members and my friends are always like uplifting me and like, are you kidding? You're so tiny right now. Like, where would you even lose another 20 pounds? Like I'm still fighting it. But mostly it's I try to be more self-conscious about it. Like I have a gratitude journal that I try to remember like to be grateful for my body. My family has a lot of health issues. Like my husband has RA, my daughter was born blind in one eye, my son has scoliosis. I try to be like my body might have got big, but my body is still healthy. I try to just remind myself to be grateful for how far I've come, that my body can do what it does. But it's still I wouldn't want to give anybody like that false hope of that I fixed myself. Like I still have those issues.
yeah, I think finding like a really healthy spot mentally with your body image is always a tricky
Yeah.
balance. But it sounds like you're working on it and gratitude is kind of the thing that helps you out the most. So when you start feeling negative about it, you try to turn that into a positive and count the things that kind of count your wins, if you
Yeah. Because
will.
I mean, like we just went, we always go on a family vacation every summer, and I never had realized before how much it would affect it, and like the weight was weighing me down. But like we had done the first hike this past summer, and I still remember being like, dude, I didn't even get winded once. Like
That's
this
great.
is what that feels like. And so like I try to like focus on those like noticing that. Like I had to mentally notice it because we got to the end of the hike and it wasn't until like we were on our way back that I was like, I didn't have to stop and take a break. Like that was awesome. Like, but if I hadn't stopped and realized it, I wouldn't have noticed it. But those are the changes. And so like you have to be conscious about it, I guess is my tip. Like
That's great. I really like that.
take the moments to make the wins. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started, was there any like underlying health issues that have since been resolved, like high blood pressure or like sleep apnea, things like that? Or
I felt like I was starting to get knee issues, and so I felt like because my knee was hurting often enough, and I haven't had any knee pain in at least a year. My family does have diabetes in their in my like family history, like my brother, my mom. I have people that have had diabetes, my grandpa. And so I had been tested and I wasn't even pre-diabetic even at the weight. My body was still like I told you like before when we first met, like my body carries weight really well and I guess it processes it pretty well too. So I didn't have the high blood pressure. I still wasn't technically pre-diabetic because my blood sugar was still fine. I was just fat.
Okay. So, um, let's kind of go back to where we were with the story. So you got all the way down to 140. At that point, did you stop tirzepatide, or have you?
Yes. And
How
so
was coming off
I
of the drug?
stopped it. Yeah, so I went off of it, and I felt like I was starting to come up a little bit, and so then I did it again for like 2 months, and I just ended doing that. I just ended doing another 2 months a little while ago, and so I've been just doing the intermittent fasting, and so I've still been fluctuating. Like I still have not seen the 139 yet, but I've been fluctuating in the 140 to the 150s for the past 4 months now. What are we? We're almost in April. Yeah, so 4 months
Okay.
now.
And was it noticeable? Like, did the cravings and those type of things come back when you got off of the drug? How is it coming
I
off?
think it was just the holidays that did it to me that I wasn't making smart choices. And so I don't know that I necessarily was craving. It was just like you go from October to December and there's so much food.
Cookies. There's cookies and
There's sugar everywhere. And I wasn't like I'd gone back to like full sugar sodas and all that stuff. And so I wasn't making smart choices. So I don't know that I necessarily was craving it. I don't feel like the food what do they call it? The food noise was
Yeah,
there,
food
but
noise.
I just wasn't making smart choices. I was just enjoying everything because I'd come so far. And then I started creeping back up into the 150s and I hit 160. And I was like, nope, nope, we're going back down. And so I was like, I need my tool back.
And so you got to 160 and then you got back on tirzepatide. And
Mhm.
then you got back down
Yeah,
to 140. And how
yep.
long have you been off of it now?
About a month now. And
And
so I haven't had
no regain since then?
I haven't gotten over 144, and so I feel like I'm doing all right. I've got a couple of trips coming up and it's that mental battle of like, I'm going on a trip with my husband and my daughter and our friends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, do I need to get that? And I'm like, no, you don't need it. You're not big right now. And so it's a mental battle, but as of right now, no, I hope to not order anymore. We'll see.
Perfect. And is there was there any side effects of coming off of it since you've been off, or is it pretty much just the same?
I feel like there haven't been any side effects. I think by that second round, my habits are better. And so I haven't been eating or drinking a lot more. And I even like things like bread. Like, ooh, I order sourdough bread from my neighbor now, because that has better gut health. And so I'm trying to just still make healthier choices. And so I don't feel like I fell off a wagon this time as much. And it is also not the crazy holiday. So
Yeah,
maybe that helped.
holidays can be hard for everybody. The food availability all of a sudden goes through the roof, and it's not the best type of
Right.
food. So, as far as looking forward, what is this? This kind of where you want to stay weight wise? Is this you're saying I just want to maintain at this point? Do you want to keep going? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm mostly, like I said, every now and then I'll be like, oh, 20 more pounds, but I really mostly just need to tone. And so that's my focus is that being more conscious about like weight training and doing better exercises, not just little piddly ones to mark off oh, I exercised today. Um, so I'd like to stay in this range. I wouldn't mind a little bit smaller. I feel like there's still about 10 pounds of fat that could go, but I know then if I trade that 10 pounds with more muscle, so I don't know that I need to accept the number that I'm at. That's probably a mental battle that I need to overcome. But I think I'm pretty healthy right now. And so if I stayed at this weight the rest of my life, I would be satisfied. It might just take a minute to remind myself to be satisfied.
You brought up a couple things that I really want to pick apart. First one is you said you got to get comfortable with the weight. How everyone I think who goes through a weight loss period, sometimes they get too obsessed with the scale at one point or another. What have you been able to do to kind of separate that away and keep yourself mentally healthy while still losing weight?
I try to always remember, like when I start getting down, and I have friends that are good at reminding me it too, is that muscle weighs more than fat. What size pants am I wearing right now? Like one of the mental blocks that I guess I didn't touch on but as I was losing weight, I'm notorious for hanging on to those clothes in case I need them again. And so there was a turning point where I was like, I'm getting rid of these big clothes because they're holding me down and they're being a security blanket to allow me to go back. And so that's been super helpful is that I celebrate like I'm at a new size. I go grab a few pieces of items in that sizes so I have something new to wear and I get rid of the old stuff. And so I think that's part of the mental battle is like being satisfied with the weight is that I made those wins or I celebrated those wins and made that mental choice. Does that
Yeah.
answer the question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Um, the other thing too is you brought up a couple times like maybe wanting to go a little bit more, maybe not. I think people kind of get on the ride that is weight loss, and there is some positive feedback of just feeling better, and sometimes it's hard to know when you need to get off of the weight loss train.
Yes.
So how have you been able to navigate that? Where you say, okay, 140, I actually feel good. How are you able to separate that out and be like, okay, this is where I need to stop?
I'm still personally working on that because I'm a big goal person. And so even though like I said, I haven't seen the 139 yet, and now my mind is like hyper focused on I just want to see it go down to a 1-3 something. And I need to work on being better at like the 1-4 something was my original goal. Why did I change that? Like how am I not satisfied by that? And so some days I do still get caught in that you've come so far, you can go further. I think that's a true mind loop we get stuck in, and I personally endured it. But I don't know, like saying like, oh, I was able to do the hikes, or I look good in my swimming suit. I have to focus on that more, so then that way I get out of that loop. And so I'm still personally working on that because, like I said, I've been notorious to say like, oh, I'm still working on 20 pounds when there's not 20 pounds to lose.
Yeah. I think that's just a hard pattern that we all kind of get stuck in when you're losing large amounts of weight. You've brought up a couple different things about like how stuff has been different from bigger, the hikes and clothing, those type of things. What were some of the biggest changes you've noticed socially with being, 60, 70 pounds lighter?
Um, I don't know. What would you define like socially? Like, I feel like people treated me differently,
Yeah, we could go
or
there,
what?
just interacting with people, or just, how it maybe rolls in your life or work. Just has there been any changes that you've noticed interacting with people?
I think it would be more my personal confidence level. I don't know if people ever treated me differently. Maybe they did and I didn't notice it. I feel like I have more confidence that I like will wear stuff that I never would wear before. I used to live in layers, like, and my husband would tease me that I'm wearing like grandma cloaks and stuff because I always had layers on because I was self-conscious. And so I think it's just more just my personal like what I don't know, just my confidence levels would be the only social difference. I don't know that people ever treated me differently, at least that I acknowledged or that I noticed.
That's great. It's actually probably really good then. You probably have healthy relationships.
Maybe I'm rolling with the right crowds. I don't know.
So you just talked about you kind of find this newfound confidence. Did you find that carried over into other aspects of your life?
Oh yeah. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning, like I had the confidence to like I'm starting a new business. I'm doing my own thing. Like I feel I'm hoping to do my own podcast someday. We'll see. But I'm like I feel like I'm more confident now than I've ever been. Like I used to be like I won't do a Zoom because I felt like you could see all my chins. Like I would be self-conscious to the point of like pictures. I have to be in the back. There's been like I just went to just a watch party and I stood in the front with the guests of honor and I'm like I didn't even think twice about that. I was just in the placement, posed for the picture. And I'm like I used to be I had to hide behind people or I'd make sure a kid was standing in front of me. And so I feel like I'm owning my space a little bit more that I feel what's the word that I feel allowed to be seen. Like, I don't know. And not, again, not that I felt like people did that to me. I was doing it to myself. But I
Yeah,
feel like, yeah, I'm not afraid to be here now. Like, be seen and be heard. And like,
that's great. I'm super happy for you that you're able to feel more confident.
yeah, thank you.
So looking back, you've come a long way. You've made a lot of progress. What were some of the things that maybe were some mistakes that you wish you could have avoided and not had to learn the hard way?
Um, Buying like keto bread because it's nasty. There's some stuff, there's like different things that I bought, like stupid pills. The worst thing to do is be on the internet at night and be like, oh, here's some new pills that are going to help with that. Like, I probably wasted a lot of money on different pills and different things, different drinks, different things that really didn't make a difference. And so, those would be the things like, especially when you're hungry and you're late at night and everything looks like it's going to promise you. I fell for some of those stupid traps. So, like, that would be something I would have done different was like, just stick to what you know was working. There's not anything out there that's going to make it go faster, make it easier. Like, that would probably be my biggest, like, if I could go tell myself something differently, it would be like, hey, don't buy that. That's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Turn off your phone and go to bed. Like, don't be surfing the net at night.
Yeah. You just brought up going to bed. Did you have to change your sleep habits and those type of things to affect this, or has it been mostly the same?
We've had pretty strong sleep habits at our house. Like, it's been the same because my kids get done at so, like, I have dancers and footballers and whatnot. And so, like, we've been pretty good that we usually are in bed and asleep around 11 because we have to get up at 7 every day. So my sleep structure has usually been the same. And I don't think that I've had any weight related. Like, I tease I have restless mind syndrome because I'm a type A personality. So at night I sit there and analyze my day and the next day. And so that's always been something that affects my sleep patterns. I don't feel like my weight ever did.
Cool.
Other than maybe the knee thing, because now I don't feel like I toss and turn as much because I don't feel like my body's hurting as much. So, and in fact, now that I say that, my hip used to do that too, that I'd have to rotate at night because I felt like my hip was hurting. And I don't recall the last time I felt hip pain.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're heavier, those parts of you that dig into
Yeah.
the mattress a little bit more can definitely get painful. So I really love everything you said so much. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we wrap up?
I hear you say this to everyone, but everyone's journey is different, and so don't take this as like a Bible to anyone. Like, hopefully, my story helps people to know, like, try different things, see how your body responds. Because again, keto works for me, doesn't work for you. My body didn't have reactions to shots. Your body might. Like, just everybody remember that everybody's body is so different. Everybody's journey is gonna be different, and I just wish everyone the best on theirs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't think I could end it any better than that, so we'll just wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.